you mentioned mentally, right? Is that something that you work on as well? So, because what you notice, if you go into the gym, you get your program, and it's just like go ahead and have fun, and then you maybe they talk a little bit about what's your goal, but of course, as you mentioned, also it's all short term. So I'm just wondering then, is the mental aspect, which is what I've noticed, neglected a lot, to say it nicely. What's your aspect on that, and how do you incorporate that in the trainings?
Yeah, I think it's probably the most important, because before you get to the gym, you have to get up and get in your car, And before you do that, you have to set an alarm the night before. Or excuse me, you have to actually choose to not ignore your alarm. And before you do that, you have to set an alarm the night before. And before you do that, you have to make sure that you make enough time to get yourself in bed so you can actually get up and go to. So I 100% like what you were saying. I'll really stress in my programs, number one, not stressing yourself. So if you don't go to the gym that day, or you didn't eat the way that you were supposed to, so what? Like, you still have another day to learn from what you didn't get to accomplish, and work on it the next day and compound on it the next day and the next day. One of my clients, she's actually in the second of one of our programs. She finished one program, and now she's worked to a more inner circle program. And before that, she was a client of mine at my gyms, and she messaged me just the other day. She had a rough week last week, and she's like, she didn't get to the gym twice. She fell off of her nutrition for a couple of days. And she said that something that she had seen me say before really helped her. And that was to just not stress it. Like, it happened, and just deal with the fact that it happened, take it head on, maybe try to figure out why, and then move on from it. What can you do different the next time? And she's like, hey, this week I'm just going to start the program from last week over again, and I'm just going to go from there. And I'm like, I was really happy for her, because one of the worst things that you can do, besides I talk all the time about don't eat like an asshole. One of the worst things you can do is bully yourself and beat yourself up over the fact that maybe you didn't perform to a standard that you had set for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really appreciate you mentioning that. And I think you can extend that not just to fitness and nutrition, but just in life in general. Stop beating yourself up, be flexible with yourself, and just pick up where you left off, or even make a step back to go forward again after that. I think that's a huge message for everybody. And I always have to keep reminding myself of that as well, because if not, you're going to just continue to fall down. I used to be getting in the habit of getting upset, and then getting upset because I was getting upset. And then, well, you see where that goes now. Nowhere good.
I always say that if being upset about it and crying about it and worrying or stressing about it would actually like fix the problem, then like cry away, like stress away, you know what I mean? But since it's not, it's really no use wasting time on it. And an example I can use of to kind of play off of what you were saying is when I played sports when I was young, especially playing quarterback. If you make a big mistake, everybody sees you do it, and you want people to know that you didn't want that to happen. You want people to know that you care. So you'll kind of show emotions, you can drop your head or things like that. But really, that's an outward projection. Later on, when I developed the confidence, I would never waver when I made mistakes in any sport, because I was like, okay, well, I've just got to do different next time, and got to move on to the next play. And it's the same thing. It's just the playbook of life. You know what I'm saying? You got to deal with it, take it head on. There's a really good book, Tuesdays with Maury, that I would really suggest. In the book, there's a really good scene. The book's about Mitch Albom, who's now a writer. He's like big on ESPN. I'm not sure where he's at now, but he started with the Detroit Free Press, I believe. And one of his professors from college was named Professor Maury. And he was like the man's man. Everybody loved him. And years later, Maury would end up sick. So Mitch Albom would go back and visit him, and he kind of chronicled that. He ended up with Lou Gehrig's disease, which is a very crippling disease. And he was kind of a shell of himself. And Mitch Albom asked him one day, he said, how do you deal with all this? You can't go to the bathroom by yourself. You can't eat by yourself. You were this guy that was, a a guy's guy that everyone wanted to be. And, you know, I'm not trying to make you feel any worse, but I'm just wondering, like, how are you doing it? And then Professor Mori said that, you know, I wake up every day and I cry. And I cry until I can't cry anymore. And then I move on. And I think that's something that a lot of people can kind of use to help them out when, you know, in both, you know, the side with, you know, with what, you know, the area that you deal with and with fitness in general. It's just, you just got to deal with it and then move on from it.
I hear you. Yeah, absolutely. Hey man, I hope you got all the information out of this that you were looking for. If so, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you hit the bell, then every time we come out with a new video, you will be informed. For now, thanks for listening, and I hope to see you soon.